Parshat Korach is quite the parsha. It's a parsha that just simmers with conflicts that really are riveting. Right? You kind of can't take your eyes off of it. So the story is that Korach and a group of Israelites challenge Moshe's leadership. On the surface, it seems like a story about egalitarianism. Why should Moses rule over the people? But the text suggests that there's much more going on. It's about family jealousy, because Korach is Moshe's cousin. It's a story that rocks the bedrock assumption of the Torah that God has the authority to appoint leaders. And in this story, Korach takes that on. And the rabbis, not content with that, add more layers to this story. They imagine that Korach what he said was not representative of his ultimate goals, that he was really hungry for money or power, or that he believed that holiness was inherent and not earned by righteous action. And in response to Korach's challenge, there is a showdown. Korach and his followers famously lose big time. God consigns them all to a hole in the ground, and the Torah uses very vivid imagery here. It says, "V'tiftach haaretz et pia, v'tivla otam," and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them. The people, traumatized by what they saw, complain that Moshe is to blame for the rebels' deaths. And God responds by sending a plague, threatening to wipe out all of the people. Aaron stops it. It's an overwhelming story. And this year, it's important that we not stop here reading the story simply as a story about rebellions and putting them down through violence. Because the key to understanding the story comes at the end, an end that most people do not remember, because this beginning is so much. You can't take your eyes away from this to notice what happens at the end and to remember. Because there at the end, you'll see possibilities about how we construct community, how we engage those with whom we disagree, and place before ourselves symbols that inspire us as we move forward. So what's this ending? Well, all I'll tell you for now is that it involves an almond branch. Yep, almond branches. But before we get there, I want to share a short video clip from the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. And in it, Van Gogh's great nephew, also named Vincent, tells a family story about Van Gogh's famous painting, The Almond Blossom.
My name is Vincent Willem van Gogh. They call me Willem, and I'm related to the artist. Vincent van Gogh himself, he had no children, but his brother Theo, who supported him, he had a son, and Theo's son is my grandfather. I grew up between the paintings. I had a very close relationship with my grandfather. I remember very well that his collection was hanging in his home, like the potato eaters in the dining room. It's unbelievable, but sunflowers above the couch in the living room. And my parents, they had on loan 3 or 4 paintings to decorate our living room where I grew up in the 60s. The almond blossom painting, it's an incredibly beautiful painting, and it has a very special story for our family and also for the museum, because Vincent painted the almond blossom painting for the birth of his nephew, my grandfather. I think it's so special because it's a symbol of new life, and it inspires many, many people from all cultures. It is inspired by the Japanese art, but everywhere blossom is a symbol for new life. And I think the very delicate, tender blossoms with knuckly branches make it so beautiful. And the color, it's breathtaking. The mission of our museum is to make Vincent's art accessible for as many people as possible and to inspire them. And that's why we provide the highest standards for making the posters and reproductions and postcards and everything that everybody...
All right, I went a little bit too long. I didn't really care about advertising the museum, but I want you to keep in your head that picture of the almond blossoms. It's such a calming picture, the delicate branches, the flowers. And it's the image that seals Korach's story as well, delicate branches and flowers. After the plague ends, Moshe asks a leader from each tribe to bring a staff, a piece of wood, and place it in the tent of meeting in front of the ark. And on every staff, the name of one of the tribes was inscribed. And on the staff of the tribe of Levi, Aaron's name was added. God says that the staff of the tribe that sprouts, it's a dead piece of wood, but the piece of dead wood that sprouts will signify who should serve God in the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Well, the next day, everyone woke up and saw that it was the staff of the tribe of Levi, Aaron's tribe, that sprouted. V'hinei parach mate Aaron levet Levi, vayotze ferach vayatzet tzitz vayigmol shkedim. Moses entered the tent of the pact, and there the staff of Aaron of the house of Levi had sprouted. It brought forth sprouts, produced blossoms, and bore almonds. I won't ask for a show of hands, but most of us, I usually don't remember the end of that story or pay it much attention. Aaron's staff, a piece of dead wood, comes back to life, but the language, when you look at it, is so evocative. This dead piece of wood flowers. It sprouts. Vayigmol shkedim, the root gamal, is connected to weaning a baby. It's about giving a gift of love. It's bringing something beautiful in the world. Shaked is the word for almond, but it's also connected to the notion of God's constancy. And the almond tree is the first tree to blossom in Israel, a sign that winter is almost ended and spring is on its way. Hashkebi porachat. Van Gogh represented new life with an almond branch, and the Torah does as well. Rabbi Arthur Wasco says that along the course of this story, God learned that the people could be more fully convinced by the flowering stick than by plagues and fires and earthquakes, by threats of death. God grew into a teacher of growth. And this symbol of growth is placed before the ark as a sign to the people. When they looked at it, they would know that Aaron and Moshe were chosen by God, but even more, it would ensure, as Rabbi Nat Ezra suggests, that they would not remember the technicolor swallowing of Korach's followers, but rather a delicate almond branch, improbably flowering. What ultimately resolves disputes and brings peace in this reading is not the use of raw power. It's giving people hope and letting them know that they're heard. It's remembering the past, grappling with it, grappling with difficult situations now, but ultimately trying to articulate a vision that inspires, because it is so breathtakingly beautiful. How could we not work towards that?